Well, we'd love to hear from you. Many of you have sent questions in that you'd like answered on the program. And so, Pat, this one is from Mary, who says, last week I heard that the new health care bill requires everyone to be implanted with an RFID chip. Have you heard about this, and is there any truth to it?
None whatsoever. I wonder where all this stuff gets going. I mean, it's so absurd, and that one is absurd. I mean, it's kind of like the mark of the beast and so forth. Well, it ain't happened yet. Not that it couldn't. That bunch in Washington could do anything stupid, so I wouldn't put it past them. But nevertheless, I don't.
Not today.
Not today. Not today. All right.
Okay, here's Laura, who says, recently you said you wanted to abolish the Department of Education. As a public school teacher, this comment bothered me. Our students are lagging behind every other developed nation in math and science and reading comprehension. How would cutting funding to our schools help narrow that gap?
Education should be at the state level, and by all means, we should have rigorous education, science, and so forth. But that monster has grown to about $80, $90 billion. It started at 10. It was set up as a payoff to the National Teachers Union by Jimmy Carter. That's the truth of it. And it has grown and metastasized. A good portion of the money goes to pay salaries of administrators, not to put teachers, not to get curriculum. So that, I mean, what good has it done with spending all that money? We spend as much money as any other nation on the earth, and yet we've fallen far and farther behind.
Still dropped behind, yeah.
Why? We don't teach phonics. We're not teaching kids how to read. We're not teaching the basics of math. We've got this new math. We've got all these experiments, and all these social scientists decide that the schools were a laboratory for their nutty ideas, and it's ruining us. We need to get back to the basics and teach kids the fundamentals of reading, writing, arithmetic, and science. And we're not doing it. So yes, we're far behind, but not because we're spending $90 billion a month on a year on the Department of Education, or 80, it's 80 or 90, I don't know the exact number. It's in that range. All right, what?
Okay, here's a question from one of our viewers. Pat, what's your opinion on the Casey Anthony verdict? Do you think it indicates that we need to make changes to our judicial system?
I don't think so, and what's my opinion? I wasn't there in court. I didn't hear all the evidence. In order to convict somebody of a crime, you have to establish it beyond a reasonable doubt. It isn't just that public opinion is against her, or she's went out to a go-go party a few months after the baby was missing. But what it means is that in the court, they have to establish by a preponderance of the evidence that the accused is truly guilty of the crime. And if not, they go free. So I wouldn't change a thing. I think American justice was served in that. Just like the O.J. Simpson verdict, I disagreed with that totally, but nevertheless, he's out playing golf, and he didn't go to jail. At least for that. I think they got him for something else later on.
Later on.
All right.
Well, this might be a first for me anyway. Here's a question from someone close to you, Pat. Pat, can you do me a favor? Can you wish a happy birthday to Duke, who's one of my Facebook friends, signed Blue? I don't know whether
Blue
he typed that in or...
Happy birthday to Duke.
I don't know whether he typed that in or wrote it in, but nonetheless.
Sure. Well, we got to have Blue. We got to have a vet who does a book, and he what's he on ABC? Wherever he is, he's going to come on and tell us how to have happy dogs, and I'm going to have a happy dog, and Blue's going to be here to show all the wonderful things he does. Blue's a good dog.
Look forward to that. He is a good dog.
He's a good dog.
Marilyn says, I am struggling financially and emotionally. As a Christian, I want to tell my family, but I don't want them to think that I'm not trusting God to meet my needs. Please advise.
There's nothing wrong with being honest about the way you feel, the fact that you're struggling, you have emotional problems. God's compassionate, but we need one another. You know, the Bible says, not forsaking the assembling of yourselves together. And I think we're not supposed to suffer in silence or to be alone, but that's what the church is all about, is to bring us together and so we can share. Most churches, you don't do that, but these smaller study groups, prayer groups, you can share. And I think you need help. You need friends. There's nothing wrong with that.
Okay, this is Monica, who says, I went to a church recently, and I was appalled to see that many of the women in the congregation were wearing jeans. Isn't it wrong for women to wear jeans in church?
It's wrong to wear jeans at the homestead dining room.
And the correlation to church there, I want to hear this.
there are a number of, you know, I belonged for a short time to a little local golf club, and they have a rather modest restaurant, and one of my associates, his wife came by to pick him up because he was going to go eat at a country western dining place. And I got a letter from the member committee or one of the people saying that I had a guest wearing jeans. So I wrote and said that I was shocked at the offending garment and that I made her face. But she was on the way to she was going on the way to get a steak at the Lone Star Steakhouse, and so she was dressed appropriately. Nonsense! Yeah. It's what's in a person's heart that's important, not whether they wear jeans or not. All right.
Hey, this is Desiree who asks, is there such a thing as a generational curse?
Yeah, I think so. I think that through the generations, somebody could be attached to witchcraft and involved in the occult, and it would pass down.
Yeah.
And we have to break those curses. But you can spend an awful lot of time looking for sin in your great-great-grandfather, and I think it's foolish, but you can break those curses. Okay.
That's all the time we have for today, but we thank you for your questions. We love to hear from you. So if you've got any questions to submit, just go to cbn.com and let us know what you'd like to hear Pat speak about.
Okay.